Yul Brynner didn't say a word when he saw it, but everyone knew. 1960, the Magnificent Seven set. Midday heat turning the Mexican desert into an oven. Camera crew adjusting angles. Director checking continuity. Extras waiting in the shade. And there, in the middle of the frame, was a pile of dirt. Freshly mounded. Strategically placed, exactly 2 feet high. Steve McQueen stood on top of it, smiling. The setup was simple, a wide shot. 7 gunfighters walking toward the camera in a line. The iconic shot that would define the entire film. Chris Adams in the center, the king flanked by his warriors. Except McQueen had a problem. At 5 feet 10 inches, he was taller than Brynner's 5 feet 8 inches. But in the hierarchy of the film, Brynner was the star, the leader, the unquestionable authority. The camera loved him. Audiences worshipped him. Studios paid him triple what they paid everyone else. And McQueen couldn't stand it. So he found a solution. Dirt. A simple pile of earth positioned exactly where he would stand. Not obvious enough to be called out immediately, but effective enough to give him those crucial extra inches. To put his face higher in the frame. To steal focus. To claim dominance. It was brilliant. It was calculated. It was war. Tommy, the set assistant, noticed it first. He was hauling water bottles when he saw the pile. Fresh dirt in the middle of a carefully swept shooting area. He knew immediately what it meant. His stomach dropped. Because he also knew what would happen when Brynner saw it. The crew was setting up lights. McQueen was in wardrobe. Brynner hadn't arrived yet. There was still time to remove it. To smooth it over. To prevent the disaster. Tommy grabbed a shovel. Leave it. The voice came from behind him. Deep. Cold. Final. Tommy turned. Brynner stood 10 feet away. Black costume already on. Gun belt slung low. Face carved from stone. But his eyes, those coal-black eyes, were burning. But Mr. Brynner, I can. Leave it. Not a request. A command. Tommy dropped the shovel and walked away. Fast. Because he understood. This wasn't about removing the dirt. This was about teaching a lesson. And Yul Brynner's lessons were never gentle. The crew assembled for the shot. 7 actors in position. McQueen stood on his dirt pile, casual as Sunday morning, chatting with another actor, adjusting his hat, checking his gun, playing innocent. Brynner walked to his mark, stood perfectly still, looked at the camera, looked at the director, looked at McQueen, then looked down. At the dirt pile. The set went silent. Not the quiet before action, but quiet before violence. Director John Sturgis cleared his throat. Okay, gentlemen, let's run through positions one more time. Steve. Brynner's voice cut through the air like a blade through silk. McQueen turned. Still smiling. Yeah, Yul. Step down. The smile faltered. What? Step. Down. McQueen glanced at the director, at the crew, at the other actors. Everyone suddenly found something else to look at. Cameras. Scripts. Dust on their boots. I'm just standing where they marked me. You're standing on a pile of dirt you had someone build, so you could be taller than me. The words hung in the desert air like a death sentence. McQueen's face flushed. That's ridiculous. This is just where... Brynner moved. Not fast, not slow, just inevitably. He walked to the dirt pile, stood at its base, looked up at McQueen. The height difference was obvious now. McQueen towering, Brynner below, but everyone watching knew who was really elevated. You think height makes you powerful, Steve? McQueen didn't answer. You think standing on dirt makes you a king? Still no answer. Brynner's hand moved to his gun belt, not drawing, just resting, fingers drumming slowly on the leather. A casual gesture that felt like a loaded weapon. Let me teach you something about power. He turned to the crew. Someone bring me a shovel. What happened next became Hollywood legend. Brynner didn't destroy the dirt pile. He built it higher. Methodically. precisely, shovel by shovel, under the burning sun, while the entire crew watched in stunned silence, while McQueen stood frozen, unsure whether to help, to laugh, to run. Brynner worked without speaking, without sweating, seemingly. Each shovelful placed with surgical precision, building the mound higher. And higher, and higher. 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. Tommy watched from the sidelines. He'd seen Brynner angry before, seen him cold, seen him commanding. But this was different. This was psychological warfare. Because everyone understood what Brynner was doing, he wasn't just building a dirt pile. He was building a monument to McQueen's insecurity.
A physical manifestation of the younger actor's desperate need for validation, and he was doing it calmly, methodically, with absolute control. At 6 feet, Brynner stopped, set down the shovel, stepped back, looked at his work, then looked at McQueen. "There, now climb it." McQueen's face had gone pale. "Why, Yul, I don't." "Climb it." The first time Brynner had raised his voice, the sound rolled across the desert like thunder. Every head snapped toward him. McQueen climbed, awkwardly, scrambling, boots slipping on loose dirt, undignified. The cool rebel reduced to a child climbing a playground mound. He reached the top, stood there, now towering over everyone, high enough to be absurd, high enough to be ridiculous, high enough to understand the point. Brynner walked to the base of the pile, looked up, his voice quiet again, deadly quiet. "How does it feel, Steve, being so high?" McQueen said nothing. "Do you feel powerful? Do you feel like a star? Do you feel like a king?" Silence. "Because from where I'm standing, you look like a frightened child standing on a pile of shit." The words landed like punches. "Height doesn't make you important. Talent makes you important. Presence makes you important. Control makes you important." Brynner turned to the director. "We'll shoot the scene now. Steve can stand wherever he wants. On his pile, on the ground, on his head, if it makes him feel better." He walked back to his mark, stood there, 5'8", on flat ground. And everyone watching knew he was still the tallest man on that set. They shot the scene. McQueen came down from the pile, stood on level ground, delivered his lines perfectly, professionally. But something had broken inside him. Tommy saw it. The way McQueen's shoulders curved slightly inward. The way his eyes didn't quite meet Brynner's. The way his cocky swagger had dimmed to something smaller, more cautious. Brynner had won. But not through violence. Not through shouting. Through something far more devastating. He'd exposed McQueen's weakness, put it on display for everyone to see, made him participate in his own humiliation. It was cruel. It was masterful. It was Yul Brynner. But the story doesn't end there. That night, Tommy was breaking down equipment when he heard voices. Coming from behind the equipment truck. He recognized them immediately. Brynner and the director. "You didn't have to do that, Yul." "Yes, I did. He's just a kid trying to make it, trying to be noticed." Silence. Long silence. Then Brynner's voice, softer than Tommy had ever heard it. "I know." More silence. "I know exactly what he is. Because I was him. The hungry one. The desperate one. The one who would do anything to be seen." Tommy moved closer, careful not to be noticed. "Then why?" "Because someone has to teach him. Teach him that cheap tricks don't work. That shortcuts don't last. That real power comes from discipline, not dirt piles." The director sighed. By humiliating him? By showing him the truth? Footsteps. Brynner walking away. Then, stopping. "You want to know the real reason I did it, John? Tell me." "Because when I look at Steve McQueen, I see myself at his age. All hunger and no wisdom, all ambition and no craft. And I remember what that cost me. The relationships I destroyed, the people I hurt, the parts of myself I killed to get here." His voice cracked, just slightly. "I did it because I don't want him to become me." Tommy stood there in the darkness, processing what he'd heard. Yul Brynner, the tyrant, the dictator, the king, had just confessed something profound. He wasn't punishing McQueen. He was trying to save him. From the same demons that haunted Brynner every day. The same obsessions, the same fears, the same crushing need for control that had turned Brynner from Yuli into someone he barely recognized anymore. It didn't make what happened okay, but it made it human. Years later, in 1980, Steve McQueen was dying, cancer, same as Brynner would die from 5 years later. A journalist asked him about his greatest lesson in Hollywood. McQueen thought for a long time, then smiled. That famous smile, dimmed now by illness but still recognizable. "Yul Brynner built me a dirt pile once, 6 feet high. Made me climb it in front of everyone, made me look like a fool." The journalist waited. "I hated him for years because of that. Thought he was cruel. Thought he was a bastard. Thought he was everything wrong with Hollywood." He coughed. Caught his breath. But he was right. I was trying to cheat my way to the top. Literally. Standing on dirt to seem bigger than I was. And YUL showed me that doesn't work. That the only way up is through the work. Through the craft. Through earning it. He looked at the camera. "He saved my career that day by destroying my ego." Tommy saw that interview. He was 50 years old by then, teaching in New Mexico, living a quiet life. But he never forgot what he'd witnessed. The dirt pile, the humiliation, the confession afterward, the lesson that looked like cruelty but was actually love. A strange, twisted, painful kind of love, but love nonetheless. This story reminds us that real power isn't about standing higher. It's about standing firm. The cruelest lessons are sometimes the kindest. And sometimes the people who hurt us are trying to save us from becoming them. Yul Brynner was a tyrant. But he was also a teacher. And the best teachers don't make learning easy. They make it unforgettable. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. Because behind every humiliation there might be a lesson. Behind every cruelty there might be care.